No, Nathan's here. Hey, Nathan. And Lonnie, I don't know that we met before, but it's great to meet you. Hi, Stephanie. Hey, Linda. And whoever's calling from 519 and 917, whose names are a mystery and not be seen. And hey, Joe. Okay, you ready to go, sweetie?
Yeah.
Make this big so it doesn't keep disappearing on me. Okay, here we all are. Hi, Brianna.
I don't know if this is working.
It's working. I can hear you.
Oh, hi.
Okay, I just don't know where Hillary is, but she should be here soon. Okay,
I'm gonna go
great
sit
month.
outside. It's too loud in here.
Hi, Ellie. Somebody else just popped on. All right, so when are you recording? Oh, you're already recording. Okay. Well, everybody, it was a fantastic month, and as is always the case, hi, Cheryl, with Prüvit, hi, Heather, we are learning every single day. So this may truly be a simple business to master, to learn, and a lifetime to master. But let's talk about the things that we have learned over the first month, or that I have learned over the first month. And I was supposed to be going to CM today to speak to a group of 3,000 people. Curtis is going. I am staying here in Hong Kong in this home office. I may go to my regular office a little bit. And for the next 3 days, I'm catching up and working. And a lot of it is this. Some of it is over here because things are popping. This is a customer acquisition machine and a duplication juggernaut on steroids when we follow it. And I've gotten to see enough people doing enough different things, following the system, which we're always tweaking to know that it is truly, people are definitively not numbers, but this is truly, truly a numbers game. Yes, congratulations to Tara Olson at Go Producer. We're having so many people do that by this end of this month, I think we're going to just put together a recognition call for all these people everywhere, because it is just amazing to me what's going on. But here's what I have learned about Prüvit and this compensation plan and this system, because I have worked with them all. Not necessarily in the field myself, but I help so many companies, and there are a lot of good companies. But at the end of the day, duplication is everything. I just spent 3 days being translated into Malay and Chinese, getting people to understand that it's not what you can do, it's what you can duplicate. And although I never mention the name of companies or people by name, this has become my shining example of what is possible. Because whatever you can do yourself that is unduplicable, it will never match up against what a group of people that are able to duplicate you can do. And it's the most important thing that we understand when we go into this type of business. Because direct sales and front-end money and immediate gratification and small steps of advancement are what drive human behavior to keep going. But ultimately what everybody's building is a residual check of more and more and more consumers using the product. And the truth is, you really don't care whether that consumer is a promoter or whether they're a customer. Actually, if you look at the way the compensation plan works slowly and really analyze it, somebody else is chatting. Yes. If you look at the way, if you really analyze it, you'll see that on a customer order, the commission, on a residual, it pays you 20%. And on a promoter order, it would pay you 5%. And that's as it should be, because a promoter is typically going to be a group. It's going to be them and all their customers. And what I'm finding is you have some people that get off to a fast start, that get it right away, that end up at the end of the first month with 25, 30 customers. We've got a couple of those on this call right now. But even the average person who is willing to surrender to the process, and when I say average, I don't think of anybody as average. I'm talking about an average performance when you look at a mean, when you look at a group of people, enough people to really get a feel for something. Ends up with 6, 7, 8, 10 customers in a relatively short period of time if they just trust the process and continue to work the numbers. So if a promoter is themselves and 10 customer users, this is 11 orders and whatever it leads to. But you don't ever want somebody to be a promoter if it's not what they see. So the whole play is really for the back end. And if you look at your dashboard, which keeps you so in tune with everything, it'll always tell you what your monthly or what your residual check is projected to grow to. And in the beginning, it's smaller, much smaller than your weekly earnings are adding up to be, because that's you going out and getting people and being rewarded for sharing people the information and their initial orders. But over time, that number is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger because you have the people that are continuing to use and those that are being added to it. And Prüvit has extraordinary numbers because the product is so good. And one of the things that I've noticed watching everything that I really encourage is, and Alexis, you did a really good meme on this, and Curtis and I are going to put together like a group just to share information that can be disseminated down between the different Facebook groups and the different customer groups as the leaders see fit, is it really is not a weight loss program, although people lose weight. And what happens is the more we pigeonhole or the more we set expectations for somebody on any level, whether it's what to experience with the product or what to experience in the business or anything else, the more likely they are to not have their ultimate success because we're influencing their thought process and we're influencing what they expect. We're influencing the feelings they're going to have about what's happening. So understanding that it really is a way of refueling your body. It's refueling your body to burn fat for fuel as opposed to glucose. And obviously, if there's extra fat hanging around as you're adding fat into your system, it's going to burn it and that's going to result in weight loss. I will say, and I think most of you experience this, as opposed to typical weight loss, you don't lose it. You lose it where there's fat. So you tend to look better, healthier. I'm getting a lot of comments, oh my God, you must be working out. And I am working out to a point again, but I have never been known for my love affair with the gym. There are no ads out there with Lisa holding dumbbells and look where she spends all of her time. It's more like every other day, 45 minutes under protest, dragged into a room that somebody said, oh, once you get into the habit of this, you're going to love it. And I am still waiting. I am waiting for the love to happen. I love the results, but the love of the process has not happened yet. But I have surrendered to it because I like the results. So basic process, we all know it. What do you know about ketones and ketosis? Nothing, everything, a little, a lot, doesn't matter. I've got a video I'm going to send you. I have a video I'd like to send you. If I send it to you, will you watch it? And the if and will are really important words in that sentence. They're really powerful because you're giving people the opportunity to say no. And if they do, that's cool. We let them go. We marry the process. We divorce the result. If people say no, not a problem. Don't even ask why. Time changes things. The fortune of the follow-up. You may call somebody 3 weeks later and say, I've been taking I've been on this product for 3 weeks. I'm feeling so good. You said last time we spoke you didn't know anything about it. If I send you that video now, do you think you might have time to watch it? Will you watch it? You never really know. But here's what we know about the numbers, absence influence with a big enough group to really test it. In other words, if you talk to 5 people, you may not get these numbers. Over the course of 100, tends to be what plays out. If you don't influence the process, build reports, a relationship business, talk to people, but the minute it turns to this subject, and all you do is ask that question because everybody can do it. And we talked about it last week, and I'm assuming that everybody watched that Hangout review replay. But in case you didn't, you'll hear me say it every time. It's not about what you can do. It's about what you can duplicate. And it's important that we give people something they can do. Many will choose not to. That's okay. As long as you keep doing the same thing over and over again and you don't deviate. Because the way that you build a momentum machine is by those that will follow the system. And as long as you don't change it, eventually people come around. Sometimes you will have success with customers, for example, that other people won't have. You will ask the question and you'll get somebody. I had somebody, one person, who's a real athlete. And he just said to me, Lisa, when I try a product, I don't want to try it for 10 days. I like to give it a real, honest, good tryout. What would you say that is? And I said, well, I take 2 a day every day, but I didn't start there. And he said, well, then I want to try it for a month and work up to 2 a day. And we signed him up as a customer, and he did that. Now, that's not typical, and I didn't offer that. He asked me. So I would never teach that, and I don't talk about that as a typical story. Certainly, I let him do that, but he's a customer. So that's okay, because it doesn't influence anything else. But I don't go and talk a video about this is how you can get people to skip the trial packs and go become a customer right away, because he's one guy who's an athlete who asked me out of 20-something customers. Or 20 trial packs. And does that make sense to everybody? So that's the exception to the rule at his direction, that I don't change the system at all. So as you ask the question, about 50% of the people that see the video or get something say, I really want to try that product. And then we move them to a trial pack. And here's why. This whole thing is built on sequential acceptance. It's an expensive product if you've never tried it. You don't really understand it. Nobody can really explain what you're going to experience with it, because everybody's experience is different, although there's some commonality. But everybody, if they haven't seen the video, you trying to explain it, me trying to explain it, I'm not very good with science. Even if I was, I'm going to explain it through the filter of my experience. Somebody else is going to explain it through the filter of their experience. Everybody can show a video. Once somebody sees the video, about 50% generally want to try it. Almost everybody will spend $35 to $60, adjusted if they do all max, to try it for 5 or 10 days because of what they've seen in the video. Most people, if we manage their expectations properly, within 5 to 10 days get results of some sort. 50 to 70% of them, depending on the degree of follow-up, elect to become, a customer with the Smart Ship. And I say 70%, let's go with the 50, because as the numbers grow and it goes down, it'll hang out around there. But some people call, did you get the product? They call it 2 days. Are you using the product? You know how to use the product? They answer a lot of questions for people by staying, really in tune with people. Of the 50% that go on the auto ship, if they're plugged in to the customer groups and things, and they're engaged and they become a part of a community. When I was in Malaysia, I showed this to somebody who's pretty much an expert in customer communities, both in the space where there's not that much happening within a network marketing, it's relatively new, but also with product communities outside of the space. And they said it's pretty typical that when you get users of a product together that are sharing and being engaged with by the people that put them there, it accelerates compliance, acceptance, and retention. So about 50% will get on, a Smart Ship and become a customer. And after a year, Prüvit's numbers retain anywhere from 47 to 52% of those people. And remember, it's not your year, it's a person on the product. So that's always evolving. So that if you have a certain number of people on the product and you're always adding to that number, that when it gets to a certain number, you're going to make X on residual. So anytime anybody's having a problem with anything, it goes back to marry the process, divorce the result. It just goes back to more views. If you're following the system exactly, it goes back to more views. So we had somebody who was getting a very, very high ratio of trial packs, too high. When the number's too high, you have to look at that. And the reason was they were heavily influencing what people's decision to try it based on their own success story, their own weight loss story, and they'd had a really good one, and kind of telling people all these things that would happen based on what happened to them. No problem there. They were telling their own story with enthusiasm and excitement. But the people also weren't plugged into a customer group, which is the only story they heard. So when they got the product and they tried it, they didn't have amazing weight loss in 5 days. Most people won't. There are a lot of people on this call right now that are very athletic and not looking to lose a lot of weight, in the gym a lot. You know who you are. I've talked to a lot of you, and your results were, oh my God, my cognitive function, oh my God, my energy, my recovery time, all these things that to an athlete, they can't get their hands on fast enough. They love the idea of burning fat for fuel, fueling their body with fat. Some athletes are 3-4 a day because they're buffing up, they're toning up quicker, they're recovering better, their pain level is down, their endurance is up. They're not really ever even talking about weight loss because they're 8% body fat. What weight are they going to lose? So that was what was happening there. But they were also getting a very lower conversion rate of customers because they didn't get that response. So the job is not to tell people what to expect. It's for them to have an experience. So it always comes back to more views. More views is going to yield more trial packs. More trial packs is going to yield more people signing up on an auto ship, a smart ship. More smart ships is going to yield more long-term retention, more long-term customers, is going to take us to what I want to talk about next. The next thing we need to focus on, I see Lawrence is on the call, and that's great. I'm sure there are other online gurus, but until I meet you, he's our resident online.
Sorry, I had to laugh about that.
He knows how to do all those fancy things, like with the videos that have the words on them and all that and all that stuff. And I think we've got somebody else here who knows how to do that, but he's relatively new, so we'll wait till next week to out him and get him working too. But here's the next thing. Customers have websites. They have an experienced keto site and they have a shop keto site. Now, they don't know it, most of them, and that's okay because when they first start and everything, it's not like we immediately want to put them to work. However, their sites have gobbledygook web URLs, but they can change it and I don't know exactly how. Lawrence is going to do a wonderful thing like a PDF or something showing this, and he'll get it to Hillary, who will get it into get it into all the groups. But they can go up and effectively get a lisa.shopketo.com and a lisaexperienceketo.com website. And customers have the ability with Prüvit bucks to get their product for free. Now imagine how much longer somebody would retain if they were getting their product for free. And think about it outside of this space, how often people run to the mall in droves to buy something they don't really want because they're going to get a free gift with their purchase. Or how often people refer people to things to get the $20 coupon. And so I think if you want to increase customers, another way to do it is to go back and show the customer, you've got this experienced keto site, you've got this shop keto site, you're having great success. If you do the same thing, people are going to ask you what you're doing. Tell them, what do you know about ketones and ketosis? Like I did with you, send them this video. Now here's the kicker. When those people request a trial pack, these people aren't in business. They're not in your business yet. You have to let them know, if you have anybody that's interested, just connect them with me. And of course, you'll be sending out the trial pack, which of course you'll be paid for. Because remember, family and friends aside, the reason we charge is it's about Aunt Betty and a college student and a single mom. You have to have a business that's sustainable. And as long as you're getting paid for all the product you're putting out there, whether somebody says yes or no, they have to make the best choice for them, and we respect it. That's all we look for people to do, is go through the process, experience it, and make the best decision for themselves based on the experience. It replenishes your supply of money so that you can replenish your supply of what you sent them so that you can send it to someone else again and keep the product in circulation without having to spend more money, which for a person, the single mom, remember what you can do, what you can duplicate. You're going to have to do that for them. But that's okay, because when that happens and they get a customer, you make sure the customer signs up on their Shop Keto, their Shop Keto site, because that's going to help them get free product when they get 2 customers. But you're going to get that customer, and you're going to make the money on that customer, and it's going to advance you. And you can, and remember, as long as they're unique customer addresses. Prüvit looks for a customer to be at a unique address, a unique household address. So Hillary can sign up her father as a customer at her home address, at his address, and she can sign up her sister, and they might be both customers, but if they're at the same household address, you'll get paid on both, but for qualification purposes, Prüvit counts that as one unique household. But as long as people get 2 unique households, they're going to go ahead and they're going to get, Prüvit's going to take the average of their highest auto ship orders, and it's going to give them that amount of money in smart ship. I mean, in Prüvit bucks, which it will then take and use to pay for their order and only charge them the tax and shipping with the credit card they have on file. So people are getting results. To get 2 customers is nothing. We know that if they show the video to, let's take the numbers down. If customer asks the question and shows the video to 6 people, they're going to get 2 customers, 8 people, whatever it takes. It's a very small circle that a customer would have to go fishing in to be able to get their product for free. And that's driving the customer base as well. And that's a way to, very quickly increase your customer base, and again and again and again, drilling it in depth. And promoters sort of identify themselves because the company, about 1 in 10 consumers, because they have a 10-to-1 customer ratio, give or take, is a promoter. And if you want to talk to somebody straight up about the business, I know we're getting to the point that you can't because you all have pretty good success stories after the first month. People move at different speeds, and that comes down to how many views, how many times did you ask the question, how many people viewed the video, what's your follow-up like, etc. But everybody's having remarkable success to their own expectation based on what they thought would happen or based on success that they've had before. So after a month, 2 months, everybody's getting really good success stories. You're going to start attracting people that want to look at the business seriously. And I think that's great, but same process. I love you to look at what I'm doing, but first off, what do you know about ketones and ketosis? Great. I'm going to have a video. I'd love to send you a video. If I send it to you, will you watch it? And you send that video. Because a person who's tried the product and had a great experience with the product is going to be on fire with their business. One of the reasons that Alexis's group drives so quickly is although she built the business in a remarkable way that has proven anybody can do it, and others of you have followed suit. Starting with just your own product, not being able to do the experience pack on day 1, but going out and pre-selling to people that trust you and you have a relationship with all of your trial packs so that you could then buy the experience pack and deliver those and then get another one and another one, which is what we're seeing happening. She had a great experience on the 5 days. She loved the product. She asked that question, would I be on this product every day even if there was no business? I'd been on and off for 6 months. Truth time, the original flavors, I did not love as much as I love the flavors today. I have noticed that athletes either have no taste buds or don't care what something tastes like and are willing to convince themselves it tastes great. Because my business partner kept telling me every day the original, oh, this tastes so good. And I kept telling myself as I mixed it with everything I could find to mix it with, holding my nose, this is so good for me. But I never came up with this is so good that it tastes good. Now, the raspberry lemonade, the Swiss cacao, even the orange dream if it's mixed with things. The Maui punch, I'm not that much of a fruit punch person, but people that are tell me that they really like it. I'm drinking raspberry lemonade as we speak. So if people have had a product experience, it just eliminates so many problems. And it keeps the business where the business needs to be. And that's where the retention comes from. So same thing. Take a new person. I want you to watch this video real quick and get them to do a trial experience. If they don't want to do that, get them to start with a product order for themselves and order their product if they really want to do that. But to stick to the hot market, people that they know and say, I'm starting this new product. I want you to do an experience with me and pre-sell all their product. Because nothing is as powerful as your belief in your product story and the product. And I've seen a lot of people that don't really believe it or think, I don't need this. I can just go eat keto, which you can't. You can eat a very restrictive keto diet and go into ketosis. It's still not the same as putting exogenous ketones into your body. And people realize that once they start taking it. It still doesn't give you the freedom to not really have to eat so restrictively. I applaud people that can do it. I certainly I suppose I could if I have to. Don't plan on doing that anytime soon. I like to enjoy my life. And we're getting a lot of questions about that, so I'm going to start. I've got Lauren coming over today and one of my assistants from the office, and we're going to start really collecting different degrees of all kinds of recipes and great things you can put together and getting it in like a group that people can like download and be giving constant content to people. Because I will tell you one thing I've learned from my profile page, it doesn't matter how much great information you give people, they like pictures of food and recipes. I get some of my highest likes and engagement when I go cook something in the kitchen and I post a picture of it. Weirdest thing I've ever seen. So that's kind of the update of what I've noticed. There are other things as we move toward the end of the month that we will teach you to help accelerate your business and help accelerate other people in the business that Lawrence and I were just working with a little bit at the end of last month that now we're moving in. You have 60 days to be able to consolidate and place people within your business. It remains your enrollment volume. I don't want to confuse anybody, so we'll do a Zoom just on that. And Lawrence will probably do one just on that, but nothing to worry about at the beginning of the month. As always, if you notice with Prüvit is always running different promotions and different sales and different things going on to make sure that the beginning of the month gets off to a fast start and people don't get lost in the lull of the month and you can finish the month strong. And I encourage people, don't ever hold business. Don't worry. I paid full price for my experience pack. I didn't care because 3 days later, I had all these people that I had talked to that I could get in when they had, a particular sale. And then, I had rushed through to get things done because it always duplicates. I had this I was teaching this group in Malaysia and every time they needed more product, they were creating fake positions in their tree. Another company, I was there training for them. And I was laughing. And they were doing it because they wanted to get the first order bonus for themselves. And I showed them, well, that's great, but everything duplicates. So you're doing it for yourself. And let's now look at what happens with the math when 10 people do it to you. Because they will. Anything you do will duplicate. And I showed them the math. You go ahead and you cheat your upline by doing this and think you're cheating the system. And believe me, the people that design comp plans, we all, 30 years, there's nothing anybody can do in a comp plan that somebody hasn't seen. There is no problem whatsoever with signing up your sister, your brother, if it's a position that's going to go to work. If it goes out and generates business, it's great. But if it's just to one time buy something so you can double dip on whatever the bonus of it is, what you're basically doing is taking a bonus that would have otherwise gone to your upline and taking it for yourself. And everybody's like, oh, what's the harm? I'm working hard. Well, no problem. Other than the fact that, that's the person introducing you to business. But now, let's say in that particular comp plan, when somebody bought the big package, and they sell a lot of product, they're very, very, I will say that group is very good at selling product, getting customers, and going back and getting more product, which is how the problem came up. So when they buy the big package, it pays a whopping $75, like a 10% thing to the person above. So every time they did it, they'd sign up their mother. They'd sign up their father, people that never heard of the business, just to have somebody in it so they could make the $75. I made that $75. Now, let's see what happens when you sign up 10 people that actually want to work the business. And they all do the same thing. Oh my God, that's $750 you don't get because you did it, so they're doing it. So all those $75 don't go to you now. They go to them because they did what you did. And now you have all these fake people that you think you don't know aren't people because you see them in your tree. And it's going to be a long time till you're chasing a bonus that you realize these aren't real people. They're just holes in a tree that ordered once. And they're like, what do you mean I lose $750? I'm like, well, if you do it, don't you think it's okay if they're, well, I don't tell them. And I said, oh, you think, so you're the rocket scientist. You think anybody who looks at this can come up with the same idea? You think the people that wrote it didn't see it? You think that of the thousands of people that joined this, that you saw it and nobody else did? Everything duplicates. It's culture. Now, by the way, that's not happening here. I just point out that you always get duplication whether you want it or not. People think that they'll call and say, my business isn't duplicating because all the wonderful things that make a business grow and thrive, they don't see happening. But here's how it works, and don't ask me why. The stuff that you want to duplicate, it's like you have a copy machine, and it's big. When you make a copy of a copy of a copy, by the 10th time the copy doesn't look so good. That's how the good stuff duplicates. And the bad stuff, it's as if it's fake news on digital soundtrack. That when somebody says it, they've got it on video, audio, every news station. That duplicates like there's no tomorrow. It's amazing. It's amazing. If people, you go to an event and you never even have to find out who the leader is. You can always tell by the group. And it's like just the leader stepped out one time to take a phone call. He thinks. He does it one time, and then he does it again and again and again. And all of a sudden, there's nobody in the event because his entire group is outside on the phone. And you go up to him and say, what the heck's going on? Goes, I don't know. I always tell them you have to stay in the event. Well, you're doing it. And then this person did it, and then this person did it, and then this person did it. So it's just a lesson to point out, because that's what I dealt with for like a whole day in Malaysia, was leaders coming up to me, complaining about certain things that were duplicately happening in their business. And then as we traced it back, inevitably, it started with them. They just didn't realize, well, why they duplicate that? They don't need to duplicate that. They need to duplicate this. I'm like, oh yes. If only my children don't even do what I tell them to do. You think distributors are going to? So that's my shtick, but I'm sure you guys have questions. Lawrence is here. He understands a lot about the technical side. What can I help you with? Oh, by the way, you all saw there's a promotion running right now on MVP Reset. If you're in the MVP period, you can earn an extra bonus and take it from a $500 bonus to $1,000 when you earn MVP, provided you meet the requirements. Alexis did that when she ran for MVP the first time. If you've already done MVP, you can go ahead and you can do it again, and earn the bonus again, which is really cool. And for those that have a question about this, let me answer one question about the reset. When you are running for GoPro and MVP, it's personal team volume, so your own volume does not count, of course. Example, if I'm running for GoPro, I need $1,000 per 1,000 team volume. 800 of it's personal team, which would be my personally enrolled people, whether they're just promoters or customers. I would need 800 of that volume to be a volume that was personally enrolled by me. It could be all customers, it could be promoters, as long as I have 2 customers enrolled. Everybody with me on that? Okay, when I go for MVP, I do it again. Because so now I need 2,000 team volume, at least 1,600 of it is personally enrolled by me with 4 customers. So it can be all customers or it can be promoters with a minimum, as long as there are 4 customer orders. And it will give you the BV requirement that has to come from those customers. So as you can see, when you run for these things, I didn't personally enroll myself, so my orders do not count. So if you rerun for MVP, it's the same thing. You have to either be qualified to run for it, which means you've done the experience pack or equivalent yourself to rerun, or you've enrolled somebody that puts you into qualification to run, and then you have to do the volume. Because that question seems to be coming up a lot. Does everybody understand that? And Lawrence can put together a drawing or a little thing to explain it if anybody does. But it's a cool bonus. And I will tell you, we don't all hit every single bonus we run for. I believe in running for everyone. And that's me. I'm not saying that's what you should believe for you. But when you get to the top, and you will if you just don't quit and you keep moving forward consistently at whatever speed you're going at. Because remember, the person who's moving faster, it's not about how long they've been in the business. It's about how many views they've had of the video, how many times they've asked the question, how many people have seen the video, how consistent they are, and how much they follow the system. Because every time you go off the system, it will come back in duplication format to haunt you in some form or fashion. But as long as you're moving consistently and you don't quit, you will reach the top. And when you do, there will be bonuses you missed and trips you didn't qualify for. And because life gets in the way along the way, but you always want the story to be when someone says, how do you do it? How did you do it? till the 11th, till the minute that contest or that qualifying period was over, I was running up until the last minute. And and honestly, if you talk to people, a lot of people that hit things they didn't think they were going to hit, that's when they did it. There are people on this very column, more than 3 that I can see, that really didn't think they were going to make things when they were like 2 days out. And they were only about halfway there. And in the last 2 days, they got it done. And that's the story that inspires other people. And the easiest way to get to train and coach other people is not to tell them to do what to do, but to have done it yourself, because nobody can tell you it can't be done if you've done it yourself. So questions? Oh, here, let me go to the chat. When's the qualification period end of the extra? I don't think so. I think you have to be in qualification by August 6th, but let me ask Lawrence. Lawrence, do you understand exactly the qualifications of the MVP rerun?
I thought it ended on the 6th.
Yeah, but you don't have to have it all done by the 6th, do you?
That was my understanding.
All right, I will check with Curtis because it said if you were in your MVP period. Let me look at it. But I know it's retroactive to the 26th. Let me check that out. It's not the way I read it, but let's assume that that's the case. Let's assume that that's the case. You know, you can get it done in that amount of time because you've all got a lot of stuff in process. And the quickest way to get to MVP, not necessarily the way everybody's going to get there, is 4 promoters with experience packs. Well, it might be more because is there still a sale going on, 20% off?
Yeah.
So what's the VV if somebody buys the experience pack that's all max? Because a lot of people are doing that now. Anyway, we'll do some math and we'll do some math of different proposed ways you can get there. But the bottom line is it's 4 or 5 people and some customers, and a lot of people. And remember, when it says if it says new volume, then customers that are on auto ship, when their auto ships fire, they count. If it says newly enrolled customers, then they have to be new to the system. And I don't have the promo in front of me. But let me go read it really carefully. Let me have Curtis read it really carefully, and he'll get back to Lawrence. And Lawrence, I'm going to ask you to write it up when you understand it because you're the technical guy.
Sure. I got it.
Okay, all max. Max, I recommend that what you charge for 5 and 10 day experience is based on the retail price of the product, not what you got it on sale for, because you have to be consistent. What I've noticed is when they have sales, I buy a lot of product because it reduces my cost of getting product out. And I haven't done any all max ones yet because I still keep the other products in stock. I ordered all max because it was a great deal and it's what I like. And the raspberry lemonade is new, and I think it's going to cause a lot of conversion. But I still kind of recommend, 3 of the max flavors, and a couple of the Orange Dream and the Chocolate Swirl, because you never know. Orange Dream is probably not my favorite, and yet Alexis, in your group, I see a lot of people that love the Orange Dream, and a lot of the athletes love the Orange Dream, and maybe there's something with it that they just like it. I prefer the Swiss cacao to the chocolate swirl, but a lot of people that do the recipes and mix it with things tell me that they like the chocolate swirl. So I would still like the try to do a combination. But if you were going to, I think that at regular price, how much is the max per packet, Lawrence?
Let me go look. I just know now there's a couple being sold right now for 104. So I'm assuming 130 plus tax.
No, not the box. If you buy just 5 of them. Like if there's 30, how much is it per packet? I think 130.
130 divided by 20.
Yeah.
You're talking $650 each if you pay retail.
Okay, the max are $650 each. So that's why they set the price at 35 and 60, because it was close, because it was never going to be all max. But if it was all max, 10 of them would be 65 plus shipping. because that's what I thought, because that's the retail price. Don't adjust the price based on that you got it on sale, because the next time you might not, and you don't want the prices bouncing all over. You want to be consistent to the public. Does that make sense? When the product goes on sale, it gives you an opportunity to be more profitable. And that's why I liked the 35, because I figured it was, 3 max and a couple of the other, and that price pretty much covered it all. But if you want to take it up $5, you can. I would just kind of leave it where it is, let them pay the shipping. If it's off $1 or $2 because you did all max, it's going to make itself up in the wash, because you're getting a lot of times product at 20% off. If you're taking advantage of the sales, you are putting the other products in. If at some point it goes to where it's all max or something else, then you could change it, but I wouldn't. That's in the US. Now, obviously, if you're in Australia or Canada, you do it to your own pricing, but it's against the US price. And I would not recommend necessarily shipping cross country, because that's where the shipping gets nuts. Once you have a person on your team that's in any one of those countries, make an arrangement with them, because they can still be paid, and you can be paid, and just you do theirs, they do yours. When you get something in that market, and just kind of cross-calculate the product, who owes what product would be my recommendation. And I kind of agree with what you were just saying, what I just said, don't cross country. But I think 35 and 60 is really good, because even if it was all max, it would take it to 65, and it's $6 to ship it. But I wouldn't really be sending all max, and because people still love the other products. I just ordered the all max experience pack because it had a lot of raspberry lemonade, and I order a lot of the others as well, and then I just mix and match it so people can try them all. Make sense? But if you find that that's what it all becomes for you, then you can change it and tell people. But here's what's going to happen. If you change it and you tell people it's this much for a variety and it's this much for all max because they haven't tried the product, 9 times out of 10, they're going to go for the variety anyway, because it's less money. And people are going to go for the least amount of money for what they want to do till they know they want to do something differently. That's human nature. Any other questions? And you don't have to type them. Feel free to open up your microphone and talk. You all have voices, lovely voices, beautiful voices.
Found that most people want to start with a 5 and 10 day just to be able to try the variety of flavors and see what they like. It's almost like trying to sell makeup online without seeing the color, how it looks on you first. That's my translation. So I've gotten a lot of people to do the 5 and 10 day just.
See, and I agree with Heather. That's an excellent point. The more we narrow it for people, the narrower what they're going to bring back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I would say is you just don't know what somebody's gonna want to do.
Right, and it's almost like I don't want to influence what flavor they choose, because I love Maui Punch. Someone might hate it, so that way they're empowered to make their own decision on what they like and their experience. And
the other thing I would point out is, for example, I was told by when I was at the event, a lot of guys told me really don't send the caffeine, because most people know what caffeine will do for them. But if somebody doesn't like caffeine, it might turn them off the product. So I haven't, to put any really caffeine, unless there are people. If it's some people I know, I will ask them. If they tell me that they're really looking for an energy boost, I'll say, do you like caffeine? But the ones that I have pre-made, we don't send caffeine, because if somebody doesn't like caffeine, caffeine can turn them off to the product. And a lot of people are sensitive to it. But if they do like caffeine, you can say, oh, well, it comes in a caffeinated, because they know that they can take the addition of caffeine. So that's the only kind of prejudgment that I made, was I don't send out a lot of caffeine. However, the raspberry lemonade is not available right now other than charged. And people want to try that flavor. So that's the only modification I kind of made, was I send them a variety. And if I send raspberry lemonade, I tell them, you'll get an opportunity to try the raspberry lemonade flavor. It's caffeinated. That has caffeine in it. And most people say, well, oh, that's great. I have no problem with caffeine. So that gives them a chance to see the caffeine. But if they say, I hate caffeine, then I'm like, okay, we won't send you that. And now that we can get a lot of raspberry lemonade, I'm going to have to think about that one. Because at the time, if somebody said they didn't want the sample of raspberry lemonade, it was like, okay, You don't have to have it. We don't have very much. Somebody else can have it. I can keep it.
I just tell people with the caffeinated, keep in mind that that's equivalent to like a cup of coffee. So if you're going to do that, take out your morning coffee and just drink that in the morning, and keep in mind that you're going to have a lot of energy.
I don't drink the caffeinated at night.
Right.
Here's something else that I learned from talking to one of the keto crazy, in a good way, keto crazy people. And it is working for me. I have started, product works best if it's 90 minutes on either side of no food, apparently. Doesn't mean it doesn't work great all the other times. It's just if you're always looking to optimize, get that slight edge. So I now usually drink one in the morning when I get up because I'm not a big eat right away person. So it is the cup of coffee for me, Heather. And then I drink one 90 minutes after I'm done eating at night, non-caffeinated, because it gives the ketones a chance to work in your body all night with no food, kind of a unofficial intermittent fasting type thing. Because you're going to go 10, 12 hours usually with no food in your system. And that does seem to be really helping me to sleep and really upping my operating system. I will say that 90 minutes after you eat is not right before you go to bed. Because if you do it right before you go to bed, that's different. And it took me a while to figure that out. So if you eat at 8 o'clock and you drink it at 9:30 and you're going to go to bed about 11:30 or midnight, it's great. But if you eat and you're going to be going to bed in the next 2 hours, probably not your thing. But that's a cool thing to try. Anybody else got any tips or exciting things they figured out with asking the question? Cheryl, you're like a customer queen. I think you went all the way to MVP with just customers, right?
Yeah. Well, I had one promoter that come in during MVP, but yeah, most of them. And I'm one big person that I had a really good experience off the bat, and I was excited and shot out a bunch of trials in the beginning, like 19 out the gate, within just a couple of days. But I was so too overexcited. Their expectation of what it was going to do was at my level, and maybe they didn't see that. So it didn't really convert that well. So be careful, what you tell them.
Since you went back a little bit and sort of modified that, the numbers really increased, right?
Yeah. You just gotta, I think if you just kind of leave it at the 5 or 10 day to maybe you'll feel some results from it or energy from it, but really just keep it as a taste test to determine which taste you're going to go to for your monthly. If you keep it at that and they come across, they do have results, then great. If not, they're not over expecting.
Now, I have a marketing person who's really good at marketing, and she's testing something right now, which is why we haven't done anything with it to see what the results are. But she put together just like 5 questions, circle 1 through 5, informally, that she's got like only like a half a dozen trials trying, where it's before they start, how are you sleeping, 1 through 5? What's your craving for sugary things, 1 through 5? What's your energy level, 1 through 5? Like 5 real basic questions that they're circling 1 through 5. And then after the 5-day, because she's got like 5 people on a 5-day and 5 on a 10-day that are she's got more, but those are the only people getting this. And then after it's over, she's going to have them go back and circle that afterwards. And actually, none of the questions involve weight loss. That's a question that she's just going to see. And depending on what they notice, that may help us fine tune some things just to ask after the experience. Like, what did you experience? And some good questions just to say, how's your energy level? Not, did it give you a lot of energy? So I'll let you know what she brings me back from that and what the data is, because we, always trust the numbers, always check your data. And I have a feeling that that'll help us fine tune a few things on the backside of after they've done the trial. But on the front end, it's just the question. Remember, here's one other thing. Let's not use the word samples. It is sampling the product, but people hear the word samples and they think it should be free. Number 1. And 2, it really is an experience. So we don't set expectations. We don't, we share our story and immediately get people in the group. There are some tips that Hillary was talking about that she got from Alexis about, and Lawrence does it in his customer group as well. When you put the people in and you tag them and say, welcome them, and you tell a little story about them and you put their picture, other people that are on the product that are just customers and other promoters that are in the group that are also using the product, they really engage with the person, and then they get the opportunity to see everybody's results. And a lot of people that have gone from 5 and 10 day to being 30 day, to being ongoing lifetime users. And that influence is great when it's coming from a multitude of sources, because they can hear see a lot of that people are very different, but everybody's experiencing something. When a person's in a vacuum or an echo chamber and they're by themselves and they've only heard your story and there's really not anything for them to engage with, that's when the results, that's when it's just them, the product, and their own confusion. And if you put people in a customer community and we keep the communities vibrant, recipes and talking to them and sharing and getting into them as much as we're over here, that's when they will start bringing other customers. That's when we go in and say, hey, did you know you could get your product for free? And we can eventually do a quick training or a quick video. And this is how you set up your site. Or we can go back and help them set up their site. Wouldn't you like to get your product for free? And it's all how much time we want to invest. But I always say, my favorite saying in business is go slow so you can go fast. Take the time on the front end for the big payoff on the back end instead of being in a hurry on the front end so you can spend time cleaning up messes on the back end. It is the biggest secret to a successful business, is going slow so you can go fast in any business. Any other questions? Anything I can help anybody with? Alexis? Heather, you guys are crushing. Lonnie, Jamie, I haven't gotten to you guys. And Stephanie, I've barely gotten to you guys. Nathan from Australia.
Yeah,
Hey, Paul.
question.
Yes?
So we have a few people on here that aren't promoters yet. They just wanted to kind of get a sneak peek. So my question is that some of my new promoters have been having, and I just want to make sure this doesn't, go against what you said about making, letting people do the trial first. So how would you couple hitting GoPro if you started like I did and you don't have this, like the samples on hand, with getting all that, like hitting?
Okay, I hit that, but let me hit it again. You tried the product when you started and you stuck with people that you knew. Remember and I had the same thing with Lawrence's group because it was people starting. It is fine if you stay to a market where you have credibility. The challenge is always if you move outside that market because it will get away from you. What you don't want is, I haven't tried the product, but my friend who brought me in, his friend who brought her in, whose friend brought her in, whose friend brought her in, knows this girl named, I think her name is Alexis, and she says the product's really good because she's used it. Because then the product becomes a widget. So if you get started and you haven't tried the product yet, you stick with your hot market. You stick with people that you know because you have credibility with them and you can say to them, your story can be honest. What breaks down businesses, I don't want to call it dishonesty, but let's call it misunderstanding. And that is, I can say to somebody, hey, I've started a new business. I'm really excited about it. I've ordered the product, and I want you to. I'm going to get on the product, and I want you to do a 5-day experience with me. They've watched the video first. Always the question: what do you know about ketones or ketosis? Everybody, no matter how they start with this company, if you want success, the very first thing when it comes up, other than I've started a business, I'm really excited about it. I want your help, but before I get into that, what do you know about ketones and ketosis? Nothing, everything. If I send you a video, will you watch it? That's the first thing. And then the next thing, because once they've said that, you can go right to, look, I've ordered my product and I'm looking for people that will do a 5 and 10 day experience with me, so that I can have their story. Help me get started. Will you help me? Remember I said to you when I teach Hot Market, the only time that your business gets to be about you is when you're working with your hot market. Your close friends and family, I can go to them. If I was opening an Italian restaurant, I can go to my families and say, I'm opening this restaurant. I need you all to be there on opening night. I need you to, I need you to get Nana and Papa and everybody else on opening night. And they're going to be there because they're going to support me. And they're going to order food and they're going to pay for it. And if the value is there and the food is good, they're going to keep coming back because they love me and they're going to refer people. And if the food isn't good and the value isn't there, they're going to lie to me, they're going to pay the bill, and they're never coming back. That's essentially how business works. We have good food. The product's really good. So you can go to your hot market and tell them, I've started a business. I need, I need to get it really off to a good start. I need 20 people that will buy an experience pack, try an experience pack, and do it with me to give me their results. If you like the product, and I expect that you will, you can become my customer, and I'll even show you how you can get your product free, helping me find other customers. If you don't like the product, I'll never ask you to buy it again. Can I count on your support? You can do that all day long with people that you know that love you. It's perfectly honest, acceptable, and that's how we've always taught people to pre-start. What you don't want to go do is go out to strangers because they're going to ask you right away, well, tell me about your experience with the product. And the only choices you have is to say to them, well, I don't have an experience yet. And, I want you to be part of my experiment, which is kind of what you're saying, and they don't have a relationship with you. Or you're going to have to lie and say, I tried it and I did this, this, and this, and this. And since network marketing is a business of relationships, you don't want to start a relationship off on a misunderstanding or a deliberate misrepresentation. Yeah, you could go back later and say, well, I never actually said I was using the product, but the truth always out. But, we always taught people to start their business with hot market. And same thing with promoters. You can go to people that you have history with, that you have credibility with, that you've worked with before, because you either had a product experience or you're close to somebody that did. So that's the bridge. Heather might not have a product yet, but she can call me. I trust Heather. Heather trusts you. You use the product. So she can say to me, Lisa, we've known each other a long time. I'm getting started in this new business. I want you to take a look at it because I think it's going to be great. You may not like it, but I wanted to call you first. What do you know about ketones and ketosis? She can show me the video and say, my product's on the way. I haven't really tried it yet, but I've heard this and this and this and this. Let me let you get on the phone with Alexis. I would have never done this right away without trying it first. But, I know Alexis and talk to her. So now she only needs a couple of promoters to go pro. So if she gets a couple of people and we're all going to our hot market pre-selling our product, by the time the product gets there, she'll have had it. Because what you do with most people, the pre-sell I would recommend is when they sign up, have them order a box of product for themselves so they can get on the product, or a 15-day supply. If they still have 14 days to buy their experience pack, if they need a little bit more time, have them sign up as a customer, your customer, to order the first box of product. When it gets there, they can immediately upgrade, and now they have the full 14 days to pre-sell before sign up. They've got 14 days to pre-sell before the experience pack comes. Then they can hit their Go Pro button, and they've got the full 28-day gamut. Does that make sense? Yes, no? If it doesn't, Alexis, tell me.
No, that makes sense.
Okay.
I just wanted everyone to hear it.
Sometimes I talk too fast, so if I need to go over it again, I got no problem with that. But Lawrence got it, and he'll put it in the cookie cutter thing. That's why I like him, because he's technical. I don't even know how to make a PDF. Word tells me it will do it for me, but it doesn't. It lies. So like I said, when you're working with hot market, they're your most forgiving audience. They love you. Hot market is defined as people that love you so much, they're not all that sure you should be in business for yourself, but they will support you anyway. They're the people that if you were driving at 3 o'clock in the morning and ran out of gas, you could call them, and without exception, they get out of bed and come get you. And then they would yell at you the whole way home for being dumb enough to run out of gas at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's the Girl Scout cookie approach. Those horrible tasting cookies those cute little girls come and ask you to buy that you always buy even though they're overpriced and taste terrible? Okay, question. Hold on, chat. Okay, if you don't hit Go Pro, you can still go MVP. You can still go All-Star. You can still do everything else. And occasionally, so yes, if you miss Go Pro, you can still hit All-Star. I mean, you can still hit MVP. You can still go hit All-Star. Ideally, you want to try hit every one and compound, but they're all independent. So if you miss one, you can go for the next one and go for the next one and go for the next one. And you can hit every rank all the way to the top of the company and become a legend if you missed all three. What they're designed for is to move people along so that people don't get obsessed with a comp plan. Go Pro, MVP, Go All-Star, that's the brick. Because if you're doing that and helping your people to do the same thing and everybody's focusing on that, once you've done it, you can help somebody else do it, and you can do it, you can teach, and you can do it again. It propels you. Make sure that everybody downloads the Prüvit Pulse app. It's not always perfect, but it really keeps you in the know, and it lets you know when people are advancing, and it can keep you connected to your team. Make sure you plug into the groups. When your team gets big, I think that different message groups and different things for different levels of leadership are great. I'm starting to like to see really vibrant customer groups. Be active in the customer groups. You're all using the product. You've all got stories. You've all got things you're cooking. People love pictures. Engage with the people that you've put in it. Introduce them to other people. Tag them. Because the more exciting those customer groups are, the faster your businesses are going to grow. The more customers they're going to introduce, the more people are going to stick with the product. I'm just watching it, and it's amazing. Any other questions? Anything else I can help anybody with? Well, for the next 3 days, I am on the opposite side of the clock, but I don't plan to sleep much. I will be accessible. You can hit me up on Facebook. Anything that you need. Everybody figure out, go through your dashboard. Be very comfortable with it. Go through the homepage, all the different downloads, all the different things that are there. The Experience Keto site seems to be the most effective way to share the video for the product, simply because it's just about the product. It doesn't take anybody anywhere else. I know there are some links that are not really working so much on the homepage, and I've got a message into the home office saying, why can't we have the tracking system hooked to the Experience Keto site versus the other site? And I'll see what I get back on that. But I'm not saying it's what you should use. I'm just saying that when you just want somebody to focus just on the product, it seems like when that's all that's there and there's nowhere else for them to get distracted right away, it seems to be the most effective for first exposure. Any other questions? You're all doing awesome. You're cooking, Paul?
Yeah, I am. I'm getting some chicken on right now. You can see me?
I can see you cooking. That's awesome.
Yeah. I want to
get boneless, skinless chicken thighs, right?
No, actually, it's going to be just chicken breast, and then I'm going to add some coconut oil and then get it on the barbecue.
Okay, I'll tell you a secret with that. Do you have any kind of steak seasoning, like Montreal steak seasoning, or
I do.
Salt, pepper, and steak seasoning on chicken? It's the bomb. It just takes the chicken to a whole nother level. I learned it like a month ago.
Okay, cool. I'm going to do that right now. Awesome.
Okay, any other questions? We're all good?
Good.
Awesome sauce. Mwah.
Thank you, Lisa.
If you need me, I'm here.